Hi, Karen with you today. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm here with another layout for Kitaholic Kits for the month of July, as I'm one of their guest designers this month. This layout that I've got for you today is full of mixed media from the Mixed Media Kit, and I'm using some of the Paige Evans papers that were in the kit as well. So I decided that I'd use the Vicky Bouton stencils, and I've used the little circle-y dots ones for this particular one and some modelling paste that was from my stash. You'll see here that I've started with some torn paper that I'm looking like I'm heading towards having a vertical type layout. Spoiler alert, it's not really, it doesn't end up being that in the end. So what I've done here is I've just spread my modelling paste across the page. I did put some little pencil marks where I thought where I'd be putting the paper, so I didn't waste any time or space in there. I just really wanted to get some of that modelling paste around where some of my paper was going to be. I wasn't actually, it was a bit haphazard really. I didn't have any plan there other than I really wanted some lumpy bumpy pieces on my page. So then what I did, I pulled out the acrylic inks that we got, and I pretty much wanted to use the yellow, but I do venture on even further. So I used the yellow at first, watered it down with some water, and then placed it on some packaging and just splotched it on. So randomly, I put a little bit of extra water as well, you would have seen there on my page, because I wanted to be able to get this to move around a little bit as well. And I continue to add just the paint around the page with some extra water. I love the way modelling paste and how things move around modelling paste. I could do that all day, to be honest. I love it. So what I also did is I brought back my paper occasionally to see where or how this was actually starting to look up. I really thought having that yellow would give it a really good contrast against the blue, but I also wanted to add some other colour in as well. So I did pull out some Lindy's Stamp Gang Magicals, which I got from the store, and I can put a link below as well if it's still available. I got that in my last order. And the two colours, the blue there is called Afternoon Delight Denim, and it's a really gorgeous blue, and the pink is Alpine Ice Rose, and I thought that looked a little bit like and matched quite well with some flowers from the Paige Evans pattern paper as well. So I decided to use that, and I did the same technique with the Magicals. I just added a little bit of the dust onto a piece of plastic and then added some water and then smooshed it on the page. I didn't know at that stage whether I really wanted to put the blue on there, so I left that off to the side, waited for everything else to dry, and while that was drying, I've backed my photo, which is a photo of my son and my mother, so his Nana. That was taken quite a few years ago now. It was taken around Christmas time. I think we were celebrating Christmas early. It was early December. Jacob and I were heading off to New Zealand for a holiday for Christmas, and we were celebrating Christmas early. So I had a bit of a play with the paper here just to have a look about what I was actually thinking around in my mind while my background was drying, and worked through some of the paper and decided not just putting the tissue paper through, did I need some other layers of some of the other papers. This does actually change later on, and you'll see there I kept bringing it back just to move those Magicals around, just to give it a little bit of more body around the page. What I've also done here is I've fussy cut out from the Paige Evans floral paper pretty much every single flower off that sheet. Then I grabbed the Paige Evans sticker book and just looked for all the colours basically that I wanted to use as part of my ephemera. So I was looking for the yellows, looking for a little bit of that orangey sort of corally sort of pink, a little bit of blue. I didn't want to put a lot of blue at that stage. I wasn't thinking I really wanted a lot of blue. So I just went through the sticker book, stuck them all down onto white cardstocks. These stickers are quite clear, so I wanted to give them some body, and so they didn't lose their colour against any of the background that I was already putting together. And I really loved those birds. So you'll see here now we've gone on a little bit way. It took quite a while for this to dry because I don't have a heat gun right now. That, man, I have to get that sorted in the next day or so. It's driving me crazy. So when I mentioned it earlier, yes, I've turned my layout to being a horizontal type layout, and I did add some of that blue from that Magicals as well. Just a little subtly around some of the areas there. What I did decide though is that there wasn't quite enough of that pink to really tie in well enough. So I've added in a strip of the scalloped paper that was in the Paige Evans paper as well, just to tie in some of that pink that's also within the flowers. I just felt it just needed that little bit more of a pop across that paper. So I've added that in, and I've clustered all my flowers at the top and around that right hand side. Now I generally work in threes, or all the clusters are together. So this does sort of form a bit of a cascade from left down to that right hand side. And I'm just adding in some of the stickers there just for a little bit of extra oomph there. I've also started pulling through some of the gold stickers that I'd cut out and fussy cut out, had some of the gold on there as well. So later on I do add a little bit of gold to some gold splatters, which you'll see in the final product as well. I also added some of the birds as well. So I've got the blue bird on the top left hand side, and he's facing in, and then the yellow on the top right hand side, he or she is facing in as well, and then the pink is also facing up into the photo. So that's why I really like to have, if there's going to be birds or something looking at something, I'd like them to be looking at something. So they're looking at each other, those ones at the top, and the other one, that pink one, is looking at my mum and Jacob, if that makes sense. I know it's just a bit how my brain works. It needs to be facing that a little bit. So on this left-hand side, I had quite a bit of mixed media there, and I couldn't quite work out what I was going to do there. So I was having a little bit of play with some rips of paper, and I didn't like that either. And I was really stuck. I thought I'd sort of scrapped myself into a bit of a corner, and I couldn't quite work out how I was going to sort of work through that process, because there was just all that mixed media left there on the left-hand side below the photo there. I really love, but it needed something. So I decided I thought I should finish off this whole cluster business with another set of flowers. So I grabbed the paper that I had a little bit left, and I fussy cut out that flower there and just left it there for a little bit, trying to see whether I was happy with that. So I started to think about what my title was going to be. I found some more flowers. Was I going to move it up the top? Where was I going to put these things? So I spent a little time fussing and fiddling with where I was going to put this final flower. It does end up on the left-hand side. I really needed something to be sitting on that left-hand side. It just wasn't at all gelling for me. I think it just needed a little bit of something to balance out and turn that page to being sort of almost reading it from the left and going all the way back around, back down to the right, and then down to the left. So what I also wanted to do was signify that this photo has a bit of meaning for me. This was I won't go deeply into it today, but this goes fairly close in terms of Jacob was quite ill there for a while, and he was recovering from an illness, and this was a really fun, great day for us. So I found in my stash some Tim Holtz tiny sticker words that I have there, and some uplifting phrases. So I did add those on, and they are from my stash. They do have meaning for me and for Jake, so I wanted to continue that on in this layout. So I spend some time looking through those. I love that sheet. I can't get over how many times I find something that's either nice to have, or just something just in general. So I decided to put these strips along that mixed media area there, and I thought that really sort of tied down the layout. And it just, if you'd listen to my last one, I always talk about my clusters I like to have the same sort of colors, so to come back through with those colors. So I do add, here in a moment, I do add some thread underneath that flower. You'll see me there just out of camera there, sorry about that. Doing a little bit of fussing with some navy blue thread, just to give that blue through there. I also add some thread up on the right hand side. I had actually glued everything down by then, so it was a little bit tricky to actually put that in, but I eventually get there with that. Then for me, the title was just Remember This, which is certainly something that I want to remember, and it wasn't really important for me. It's funny though, I've actually done Remember This and Remember This on this page. The stickers on the top left-hand side of the photo actually say Remember This as well. I didn't even really realise for that when I first made the layout until I took the photo. It was more the colour that I was looking at when I did that, but I don't really mind. It doesn't bother me at all. So I spend a little bit of time making sure that I've got everything I want. There was a little heart on the word phrase sticker sheet, and I put some enamel dots that we got in the pack as well around the page, just to put a little bit of whimsy on the page. I don't always use enamel dots, but I do. When I have them, I will absolutely try to use them on a layout. The other thing that I decided to do as well, which will come up in a moment, was I felt that the layout just needed a little bit more on the edges as well. So I cut out a little tiny section on the top right hand side corner and also on the bottom left, and just added a little tiny strip of that blue paper. I didn't add anything else. I didn't embellish there. I just thought it just needed just an extra little bit of color on the ends there. So that's going to be pretty much my whole layout for today. I want to thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you've enjoyed me pulling this together, and I hope you're all having a great time creating with this month's awesome kit from Kitaholic Kits. I've got some close-ups coming up for you. Thank you so much for joining me today. I've loved sharing this with you today. Again, thank you. Bye-bye.